A good friend of mine passed away. It hasn't even been 24 hours since I've received the news. There's something weird about the passage of time and how we expect ourselves to have more tomorrows. And it's really made me think about those games, the ones in my periphery that I've been meaning to get to, except I've always pushed them back because I'll have more time. I missed out on most of the SNES RPGs. My friend was the one who introduced me to Chrono Trigger, to Earthbound, much later in life. The passion of Chrono Trigger coming from him overwhelmed me. I ended up having to finish it. I finally ended up finishing that game in 2021. It was my favorite game that I played that year. He was very surprised at the low level I was when I finished it. I bring these older games up because I played one of my favorite games of all time in 2018, and that's Lunar Silver Starry Story Complete. An absolutely excellent adventure on the PS1. My friend was so happy that I enjoyed it, and he just kept saying, I can't wait until you get to the sequel. It's bigger and better. What makes it really interesting is the year they announced the remaster of 1 and 2. Right before that, I decided I'm going to tackle that sequel so I could talk to him about it and compare it to the first game. I wanted to wait. I was worried about it not living up to my expectations, and I also wanted to savor it. Knowing the first game was one of my favorite games of all time, and I only have one more game in that series, I just didn't want to let it go just yet, and time slipped away. Well, years did. I no longer have that opportunity to talk to my friend about this game. That excitement he felt for me, I'll never be able to see the conclusion. That will always be with me, now hanging over me. But it also gives me a nice perspective on memories I've had and time worth investing. We used to talk old school RPGs all the time. It was his bread and butter. He could talk about the game mechanics night after night, while I always steered the conversation towards the characters and stories. Oh, it was so good. He would get irritated when I mentioned Breath of Fire 4 as being awesome, and he couldn't stand the camera switching, but the graphics and characters were awesome, I'd counter. He said the Wild Arms characters looked like potatoes, and I said I didn't care. He was really excited for me to start playing Suikoden 1 and 2, and I always would ask him for advice, and he told me I couldn't beat the game unless I recruited all 108 heroes. He was staunch about his opinions and how he completed games, and sometimes that made us bump heads in the best gaming discussions while we were getting up to our shenanigans. I wouldn't let him spoil anything in games, but he would give me advice from time to time. The last advice I ever got from him was about Dragon Quest III, which is another series he actually introduced me to. Or we would have random conversations about what we're playing and our stacks of games that we have sitting by our TVs. I never got that pizza, brother. I'll let you keep that one. This is all to say, don't wait. There's such a rich connection between games and physically manipulating the world we choose to exist in. Just let it sink in. It's one of my favorite mediums for storytelling and character development, but it's also brought so many real-life friends together to sit and talk games, and mainly argue over the games. The amount of times I've argued about Morrowind versus Oblivion, it's great. So instead of a nebulous start date in 2025 to finally playing Lunar 2 Eternal Blue, I'm starting it today, right after I finish up this video. I won't be able to talk to Jono about my experience, my good friend, but I'll have his own opinion in my head. And, I know he liked number 2 better than number 1, and I hope you're right. However it turns out, I'm excited to find out. Until the next one, take care of yourselves out there.